if the Lamb opened the fourth. There's no rapture here. Here we have Mars. University Acts 49th, Plas. 72, Revelation, Giuliana from 14 to 18, today 14, starting with 14. Then I looked, and before me the Lamb of Pesto appeared on Mount Zion. Along with him were the 144,000, who are the 33% of victors over evil, as Zechariah mentioned. We saw this in the previous chapter. On the foreheads of the billions and millions of victors was the name of the Creator, Yah, and the true Messiah, Shua. Yah, Shua, sealed by the 777 metaphysically on their foreheads. So, in ancient eschatological language, the forehead is a place of marking, of identity. There are various peoples and empires that tattooed foreheads, soldiers. In Rome, prostitutes had names. We will understand why this issue of the forehead is so important. At various times, including in World War II, the markings. While seeing the multitude of the sealed, I heard a sound like that of many waters, or like the sound of a mighty thunder. It was like the sound of the guitar, original, kitara, in a triangular shape, with 7 strings. Imagine a guitar in a triangular shape, with 7 strings. All the millions of the sealed, the 33% who will overcome the Great Tribulation, were before the throne, and before the 4 beings and the 24 elders, singing, new song, with millions of guitars in a delta triangular shape with 7 strings. It's interesting because the guitar usually has 6 strings, right? It's saying, the Kingdom 6 has 6 strings, but there it will have 7. Now, did you notice what percentage will overcome the GT? 1/3, right? Are you ready to overcome the GT? Because here it's clear, it's already written. You know that Apocalypse is Naktuba. Apocalypse is what has already happened. Not in the chronological sense, in the prophetic sense. In the prophetic sense, it's something so true that God, being timeless, has already seen the future. For us, it will happen. For God, it has already happened. So, if for God it has already happened, he saw that only. 1 out of every 3 people will overcome the GT. No one could understand the new song, but only the billions of sealed ones understood the lyrics they sang. And here, a luminary. To understand again that John is basing himself. What is his source? Micah 4, 6, Joel, Isaiah 11. 40, 46, 2nd Esdras, you see? These are the foundations. If you go read there, you will see that this happens in this way. Someone wrote me an email just a little while ago, and I will record this in the lesson. 49, because she said, Professor, I went to the dictionary and Nicodemus doesn't relate to what you said. Where can I find the correct original that you mentioned? So, people need to be careful because dictionaries say whatever they want. I don't know if you know. Do this today, tomorrow, whenever you have time. Open it up today. It can be today. Go ahead. Go. Write. Open the word. Write Nicodemus. Really. Write. Nikolai Tan. Go to 4 different dictionaries. Guess what you're going to see? Just like the Bible. Each dictionary will say something different, adding or reducing synonyms. But we have to understand that the dictionary sometimes relies on a certain type of origin. What I recommend to you is to research sites or books that work with etymology. Not little dictionary sites from Google. Pay attention. You won't stick with little dictionary sites, nor a dictionary at home. You will look for books or sites certified in etymology, whether national or international. You will look for the origin of the word. The origin of the word. Indo-European, for example, X. You only understand the word X when you go to the root. Indo-European. And I'm sorry, but dictionaries like Aurelio, this and that, won't go to the Indo-European root. They start from Latin onwards. They start from Greek onwards. And the world didn't start with Latin. The world started long before Latin, my friends. Did you understand? So, there's this confusion. She didn't understand what I said either. She got confused, because I mentioned that, like Nicodemus, which was a pseudonym, Nico means power, demo means people, I used a pseudonym. A pseudonym was used to hide his name. His name wasn't Nicodemus. Nicodemus is what he was, a leader of the people. And I only used this as an example to explain what Nicolaism suffixism is. In Revelation, to prove what the prefix Nico means. And the person misunderstood and thought that Nicodemus meant that, and mixed up Nicodemus with Nicolaism. So, sometimes you watch me when you're tired, or with external noise, and you don't understand it properly, and then there's Professor Raquel has a doubt. Actually, everything is well done here. Take a look at it, how the message reaches you. Right? The millions of sealed ones did not contaminate themselves with idols in the material world, but remained spiritual. And, for this reason, they will now follow the Lamb, wherever he goes. They were bought by the Lamb, and offered as worship to the Creator. Here it is talking about grace. What, really, is grace? What is grace? It's that all the churches say so much, sing so much, and don't know. The price, the payment. Why the churches? Are they all wrong? And Acre will affirm this until the last day, teaching you and increasing this multitude of people who understand. Because the churches charge. And I'm not even talking about money. They say you are always in debt, in sin, and you always need to pay. And this is against grace. They were not deceived by the illusion of the world. Material, 33% of people who will overcome the GT were not deceived by the illusion of the material world. I hope you are among them, because only 1 in 3 people will succeed. In them, no lie was found. Checker 666. The lie is the number 666. And the truth is 777. This is the Matria Guide. They are of the truth and therefore will be perfect, divinized, like God. Then, I saw the first manifestation flying through the sky, and it had in its hand the announcement of the truth to proclaim to those who dwell on the earth, Jews and non-Jews. This manifestation of the Creator said in a loud voice, "Fear the Creator, and exalt him, for the great day of judgment has come. Worship the Creator of the heavens, the earth, the sea, the rivers, and below the earth." Then, after the first manifestation announced the coming judgment, the second manifestation followed the first. And it said, yes, judgment will come upon the spiritual Babylon. Fallen, fallen, is the great Babylon. Why twice? We make our contemporary metaphorizations here. But it's just a semantic stretch that fits and is coherent, but that's not the point. Sometimes we transcend the original, but it's not necessary. We say like this, fallen. Judaism, fallen. Christianity, fallen. Catholicism, fallen. Protestantism, that's why it's twice. But this is just a possibility of eschatological conjecture, coherent, that does not violate the original text. But the truth, the root, even of the first interpretation of why fallen, fallen, is simply because, in divine language, every time God calls someone's attention with exhortation, he repeats the name twice. We see this clearly from Matthew to Paul's letters, including, when you want to get someone's attention, you repeat the name twice. Here on the mothership, it's already so cautious that when I say Lena, Lena. When I say Clarice, Clarice. This. But God is doing this because he is calling attention and saying it will fall. But who is this? The great Jerusalem, mother of the 3 religions of the earth. What should everyone know? All countries to the right of Israel write from right to left. All countries to the left of Israel write from left to right, seeking the center of the world. This alone proves the existence of God. What should everyone know? That Yerushalayim is the mother of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. That Islam observes Friday, Judaism observes Saturday, and Christianity observes Sunday. This alone proves the existence of God. What is the chance of this happening organically? 0. One more thing. Friday is the moon. Saturday is the star. And Sunday is the sun. Sunday. That's why it's called Sunday. What is the chance of this happening? Tell me. And these three religions are coming together in the cube of the Abraham Accords Temple. With Jared Kushner, whom I've been vaccinating for so many years. Long before many people. Trump. And Netanyahu. And others. What are the chances of this happening? Answer. What are the chances of this happening? So, what is Babylon? The churches will say it's Rome, that it's the Vatican. Other churches will say it's the United States. It's contaminating us with iFood. With the iPhone. But, in fact, this is completely wrong. Because it's not the United States or Rome. Babylon is the empire of the third power. The empire that comes way before. Didn't I just talk about etymology? If you do an average or shallow research, you will reach the etymology of words in Latin and Greek. But if you do a deep research, you will reach Indo-European, you will reach indigenous, you will reach tribes. Ancient, primitive, you will reach the Epic of Gilgamesh, you will reach. The Code of Hammurabi, you will reach. Babylon, Sumeria. Acadia. Can you understand or not? You remember the series 72 Empires. I can't want to know things by going only halfway. If I want to know things, I have to go back to the beginning. And why is the professor talking about etymology now? Because here it's the same thing. How am I going to know who Babylon is if I research only halfway? Halfway is the United States. Halfway is Rome. But what really is the state? Who founded the United States? And what does Rome mean? Since always. So, you have to go further back. That's why we say original. What does original mean? Where it all began. In the beginning, there was zero. And, just as the prophet said, the nations drank from the wine of its spiritual prostitution. Her spiritual infidelity will end. Why is she Babylon? Because the symbol of Babylon is an unfaithful woman. What is the title of today's lesson? Jesus sees. Caught in the act. Lit frame. 1:10 Kings. In 2018, I made the most controversial video in the history of X. That I don't even dare to repeat it. But what I said was based on the prophet Hosea, Oceania. It's true. God had 2 wives. The first one betrayed him. Just like the story of Abraham, except Abraham wasn't betrayed, but it's the story of 2 women. You have 2 women. To bear Isaac and Ishmael, you have 2 women. Understand. You have the first one who betrayed him. You went with the second one. And after you went with the second one, because the first one betrayed you, you saved the second one. And because you went with the second one, the first one repented. Part of the first one repented, so the first one will be saved. Along with the second one. That's the story. These are metaphors, obviously. Your spiritual infidelity will end. What is the infidelity? The pampering, the privilege, because the first wife received a lot of pampering. She was pampered. She received interference, protection, support, revelation, and got lost. Many shoes, many dresses, a huge closet. Many rooms, she even got lost in the house. There were so many rooms in the mansion that she didn't know. There were rooms she hadn't entered in years. There are rooms she never entered. She didn't even know the color of the room. Servants to do everything for her. And she just changing the color of her nails. This was God's first wife. But look, I saw the third manifestation that followed the first two manifestations and said in a loud voice, all those who accepted the ego messages of the Messiah of Israel and who accepted the sign of confession of faith in the Messiah, false or worship the sacred object, in the third time, as revealed yesterday, unprecedentedly, which is the Matria, the Ark of the Covenant, who remembers, Tefillin, who remembers, or worship, this object, they will also drink the wine of the Creator's wrath, which will be poured out without mixing with water and without reducing the alcohol content into the 7 bowls of his wrath. All who were marked by their confession of faith in the false Messiah through the Tefillin, the black cube, or the name of the false Messiah, and by worship. In the third time, they will be tormented immaterially. The torment will be like the pain caused by fire with sulfur. Before the Creator, they will be tormented. And, like smoke, the Creator will see their torment timelessly. Here is the reward for the righteous who remain faithful until the end, doing the will of the Creator. I mean, why does God insist on seeing these people suffering before Him? You know. Before the fourth manifestation, appear in the sky and say, you have to understand that God is a retributor. God is just. He gives to a person exactly what they are. The intentions read by God of what they wanted to do to other people is what they will pay for. These people who will suffer before God like temporal smoke are people who wanted to make others suffer and made many people suffer. And if they had more power, they would make many more people suffer. So they need to suffer. It's no use saying, God is evil, I won't believe in God. This kind of God, where is God's justice? Because you don't know who God is dealing with. People who have so much ego, who have done so much evil in this life, and who, if they had more power, would do more. So God is a retributor of what people are. Right? Trust in God's judgment. John writes, John, right, said the fourth manifestation that appeared in the sky, blessed are those who will also die now, at the end of the great tribulation, for the Spirit of the Creator says, the martyrs of the great tribulation deserve to rest from their labors, and their fruits will be their eternal and immaterial reward. So, here it is talking about the people who will die. Privileged, at the end of the great tribulation, it's a privilege. Privilege to die at the beginning, privilege to die in the middle, privilege to die at the end, privilege not to die and manage to go through it all. Then, before me, appeared a white cloud, and our Supreme Master was sitting on this cloud with a golden crown on his head. And what was in his hand? It was very sharp. Do you see how sad it is? Tell me of a church that has Jesus with 7 horns and a sickle in his hand, like the angel of death. So, we saw this in the series Angel of Death. But, for the church, the one who has a sickle in hand is Satan. The one who has a sickle in hand is the devil. But who is it that has the sickle in hand? Jesus. See? And then the idea of the sickle was created in the Catholic Church. Angel of death, that is Satan. Then, from the immaterial temple came the fifth manifestation, which spoke in a loud voice to our Savior, who was seated on the cloud. The harvest on earth is already ripe. The time for harvest has come. Then I saw the Creator pass his sickle over the earth. And the great harvest was made. Then God comes. 2. Rapture, privilege, spare, and protect. To pass, the sickle over the earth. While Jesus was with the sickle in hand in the clouds, this voice from the fifth manifestation said, "It's time, pass the sickle. It has arrived. Here it comes, here it comes." I saw the sixth manifestation, which also came out of the immaterial temple of the Holy Delta, also holding a sharp sickle in its hand, another sickle. And then the seventh manifestation, that represents the element of fire, came out of the immaterial altar and shouted in a loud voice to the sixth manifestation that had another sharp sickle in its hands, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the vine of the earth, because the grapes are ripe and ready for harvest." Then the sixth manifestation carried out the order of the seventh manifestation and swung its sharp sickle over the earth, gathered the grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of the Creator's wrath. Finally, the grapes were trampled in the winepress outside of Jerusalem, and blood flowed from the winepress. This is one of the most terrible parts, and it's the worst class title I've ever made. In 2018-19, when I gave this class, I put a very terrible title. I even had to edit it, because the title was very terrible. And it's edited today, but still, even after editing, it remains a terrible title. This chapter 14 of Revelation, it's bloodthirsty. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. I don't know how someone reads this chapter and says, God is good. God is just. Why do you think it's talking about grapes? It's talking about blood. A lot of blood. It ends by saying, there was so much blood that flowed from the winepress of the Creator's wrath, that it reached the height of the war horses' bridles. Do you know what the height of a war horse's bridle is? 1.5 meters of blood height. And the blood spread over a distance of approximately 300 kilometers. Can you imagine? Then the foolishness is so great that today we have millions and millions of people who say, Jehovah is not with me, I don't accept, but Jesus I love, I belong to the God of the Gospels. But the God of the Gospels said, I am not good. Good is the Father. Good is Jehovah. In other words, what is he saying? My manifestation now is worse than the Father's. If the Father's killed 3 million, mine. Just wait for what I'm going to do from the cross onward. Because, looking physically at Winston, Tony, you see that Jesus didn't kill anyone. It was only love. But spiritually, he said, in this generation, not one stone will be left upon another. It's that you don't see it, but spiritually. Jesus came incarnated in the body of the Roman general, Titus Flavius of Vespasian.
But he's the master of the sword, right, Professor?
Then, Tony, what happens? No one sees it that way. I don't know if you remember. When Jesus taught, the Pharisees couldn't see. They couldn't understand because things were spiritual. The prophecies were always beyond. Today, the same thing is happening, even after Jesus has come. People can't understand the prophecies because they are spiritual. You look and see Jesus again. Now, Jesus has already come, has explained everything, and you say, now I have the whole explanation. But you remain blind. Because you look at Jesus and say, so Jesus is good because he only talked about love and said, love your enemies. But what did he say? Not one stone will be left on another. He said, 2 will be in the field. 1 will die and the other will not. In other words, 50% will die. People say that God is good. They don't understand anything. So, are you seeing? Revelation 14. 300 kilometers, 1.5 meters of blood. Revelation 15. Then I, John, saw in the sky Another great, marvelous sign. There were 7 archangels with the 7 last plagues, for with them the wrath of the Creator is completed. Now, indeed, vengeance will be done. I saw something like a sea of crystal mixed with fire. Why was it a dual sea? Why? Why did it look like crystal and at the same time like fire? And on top of the sea of crystal, with colors like fire, were all those who died for not accepting the false Messiah and therefore overcame him. These millions did not accept the false Messiah, his sacred object, and the gematria of his name. They held guitars in the shape of deltas with 7 strings that the Creator gave to them. And millions sang the song of the first witness, Moses, which will be the new song, the Psalm of the Lamb. Great and marvelous are your plans, Lord, Creator, and Absolute. Your ways are just and true, O King of all nations. And you can imagine the melody with the millions of 7-string guitars. Who will not fear you, O Lord? Who will not glorify your name? For only you are perfect. All nations will come into your presence to worship you, for your perfect judgment has been made before all men. So here you see a true praise. True. Because here you have the summum, the grand finale. Those who overcame the great tribulation are before a sea that reflects the blood of their death on earth. This holographic sea is sometimes crystal clear and sometimes appears with a color like fire, representing the blood they shed. And they sing with this beautiful lyric you are seeing, with their millions of 7-string guitars. But if you didn't understand all this, it's not literal. And the churches, as you have seen, we are on a path. We are on an odyssey since the first lesson. We are in the 49th lesson. 50 lessons, almost, a Pentecost of lessons. And we have seen chapter by chapter, verse by verse, enough to have a holistic view of the Bible, gentlemen. Holistic like never before. Did you see on my Instagram what I posted? That girl who said her father wrote the Bible by hand several times, that she was moved, that she was going to do it too. People misunderstand everything. They think that this is worshiping God. They think that God is pleased with the penance of hurting one's finger. And the more the finger hurts from handwriting, doing Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, transcribing the whole Bible, it hurts even the finger. Then I'm atoning for my sins with my finger. Oh, look at the word of God. I've already read it. The Bible 35 times. Reading it all day long, and the more the urge comes to rest, to stop reading. No, I will defeat the evil one. I will read until the end, because they think this pleases God. It does not please God to write, transcribe, copy, recopy. It does not please God to keep writing. They have already received it once in the mailbox. Handwritten passages of the Bible, handwriting that someone did to win you over to the church. Have you ever received this kind of thing? And people make these sacrifices and turn the truth into a lie. And the same goes for churches. Look, this here is beautiful. These are the people who came from the great tribulation, who are before God and are saying at the moment, right, you are perfect. Who will not fear you? It makes sense because it's the grand finale. They have come before God. It makes perfect sense. And what have the churches turned into? Into this here all the time. Orchestra, guitar, bass, drums, choir, raise the backup vocals. And let's sing, who will not glorify your name. And that's how heaven is. Here is heaven. Heaven has come down here. This church is a little piece of heaven. Here is heaven, and it will be like this forever when we come to dwell with the Lord Jesus. In heaven, there in heaven, when we live with him, it will be like this forever, because we are already getting used to it here. From service to service, let's sing, let's worship. The people who are watching with me, since the first class, for those who are paying attention, with all love for the truth, saw that this is absolutely mistaken. The churches are mistaken. They transformed these grand moments with meaning. This year has meaning. Into a service, into an idea of worship. Keeps reading the Bible again and raises the hand. And let's worship again. People, for the love of God. So, both the girl there who is praising her father, because the father calligraphed the Bible, wrote the Bible, I don't know how many copies, the most beautiful thing. Oh, how beautiful. People are moved. All right, it was in devotion, in sincerity, in each one's relative truth. God takes into account what is true for you. But can you understand that people shouldn't be reading the Bible 30-something times? People shouldn't be copying passages from the Bible, skipping meals or kneeling so much that it leaves a mark on the carpet. Is this why we are alive? Is this why Jesus came? Answer. These people never understood the grandeur of it. Here. The essence of it. Here. The meaning. So, what does our life need to have? Meaning. Everything we do has to have meaning. We cannot take something childishly and create an entire liturgy, an idea, and ritualize that process. Understand? So Camila is there. Why not pray? I really wanted to understand. Keep following along before. I don't know if you just arrived. You have to go to class 1. Go to class 1. Seriously? I'm telling you seriously. Give yourself a chance. Go back to class 1. Then you will understand what prayer is. It's not that you shouldn't pray. It's about what prayer is. What prayer is. It's wrong. No, it's not wrong. I feel the presence of God in your sincerity. But go see with Jesus. What prayer is? Continuing. All nations will come into your presence to worship you, for your perfect judgment has been made before all men. They are speaking, singing. With guitars after this, I looked and saw that it opened in the sky, the Holy of Holies, the Holy Delta, the most holy tabernacle, and there are people who think there is a replica of the temple in heaven. It's just a metaphor for you to understand the biblical eschatological language. What is the Holy of Holies? The place closest to God. Then, from the perfect delta, which represents the Creator's wrath, came the 7 archangels who will execute the 7 last plagues of wrath. The 7 archangels were dressed in pure and shining linen with precious stones, and had golden sashes around their chests. I also saw one of the 4 beings give the 7 archangels the 7 golden bowls full of the Creator's wrath. Then the Holy of Holies was filled with smoke from the glory and power of the eternal Creator. Then I knew that no one could enter the Holy of Holies until the 7 plagues were completed, which is the pouring out of the 7 golden bowls of the Creator's wrath by the 7 archangels. What is John's intention? The last one who remained alive in writing the apocalypse? Do you know? Why should there be a Christian apocalypse? Exactly for that reason. The answer is in what I asked. If there were no apocalypse of John, we wouldn't have a Christian apocalypse. The Jews had several apocalypses, and those apocalypses did not speak about Jesus. They pointed in the eschatological path to the Messiah, the source of everything. So John was indignant and said to himself, I will not die until I make a Christian apocalypse. It is necessary, and it really was necessary, to make an apocalypse where you show that the center of these texts is Jesus. So that's why he took Job, Ezekiel, Assumption of Abraham, Ascension of Abraham, Apocalypse of Elijah, Apocalypse of Abraham. It has everything here. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Hosea. There's everything. It's all here. And he puts all this together, Enoch, and then says Jesus. Then he places Jesus. In the center of the archangels, cherubim, seraphim, angels, dominions, apparitions, manifestations. It is Jesus who is always at the center, executing. In the middle of the candlestick, in the middle of the candles, in the middle of the church, about the angels. Understand? He is gathering the entire compilation of Jewish eschatology and saying Jesus is the fulfillment of all eschatology, and it is he who will fulfill this. Revelation 16. Then I heard a loud voice that also came from the Delta, Holy of Holies, saying to the 7 archangels, you may now go and pour out on the earth the 7 bowls of the Creator's island. You see that the subject continues, right? Poorly divided chapters. Immediately, the first manifestation went and poured out its bowl upon the earth, as the wine of justice was being poured out. Malignant and painful sores appeared on the Jews and those converted to Judaism who worship the false Messiah in the third temple and confess their faith with the tefillin and with the Star of David and Solomon, marked by the name of the false Messiah. Professor, my Bible doesn't have this, but that's what it's saying. Who is the apocalypse for? For them. The apocalypse is, for them, about what will happen. It is God's dealing with his first wife. Then the second manifestation poured its bowl into the sea. Immediately, the entire sea, this time, turned into blood, as all the creatures, marine life, and living beings in the sea died. You can imagine that this is the end of the GT. These are the last months of the GT. Total disaster. Everything we see today in the newspapers saying, the scientific journals, the researchers saying, look, marine life is threatened. 1/3 will die at the beginning of the GT, but in the end, look here. Everything will be death. There is no more life in the sea. Then the third manifestation poured its bowl into the rivers, the fresh water, the sources of mineral and potable waters. All of them turned into blood. What does the blood mean? Poisoned. So the water is gone. Does the Bible say that the water will run out? Yes, at the beginning of the GT. 1/3 of all the world's water is affected, but in the end, all the water is affected. All the water is poisoned. All freshwater creatures died. There is no more drinking water in the world. The third manifestation after pouring its bowl said, you are the balance. You are the measure of men. You are the reflection of men's choices. You are just the past, the present, and the future. Nothing will go unpunished. All choices will be judged. This is what the third manifestation said. As these men killed the righteous and prophets, now you have given them blood to drink. What they did in the same measure they are receiving. See? What did the third manifestation say about the last 7 plagues? What they did in the same measure they are receiving. So God is a retributor. And then the altar, which received all the prayers of the martyrs, who cried out for justice throughout time, spoke once more as if it were a person. For the altar is yet another manifestation of the Creator, just like everything that exists in heaven and in the immaterial. See? Then people start believing that the elder who appeared is really the elder, that the angel who appeared is really the angel, that the being dressed like this, resembling this, is really that it is literal. They are manifestations, because even the altar speaks. And the altar speaks. See? So God manifests in animals, in hybrid beings, in unicorns, if he wants, in inanimate beings, in objects without life. And he will speak through the voice of the altar. Look, the voice of the altar, which represents all the martyrs. It spoke, responding to the speech of the third manifestation. And notice that one manifestation always converses with another. You saw it, right? Why? It's a sequence of vision, of understanding. Yes, the absolute creator judges with truth, accuracy, precision, perfection, and justice. So, when one manifestation speaks to another, it's not angels conversing. They are the layers, the unfolding of the scroll of the Codex. It is the unfolding of the same apparitions, unfolding of the same speech, judgment, prophecy of the same God. It is the one God, arid, unfolding, into plural, pluralizing in vision. One manifestation, two manifestations, this one speaks with that one speaks with this one, but everything comes from the same God. See? The fourth manifestation poured out its bowl. Where? On a sign. And here will come those days that I always tell you about. The sun, which has always helped all of us by bringing life, will now burn in with fire. Then I saw many who believed in and followed the false Messiah being burned by the intense heat of the sun. Do you think people will repent? Most of them won't. Instead of repenting, they began to murmur, to complain. And even so, they trusted even more in the false Messiah. And with that, they blasphemed the Creator. The pain from the burns will be so intense that the followers of the false messiahs will bite their tongues in agony. So, you see that. One manifestation speaks to the other just as literal and figurative converse. You can notice here that the metaphorical called the literal. There is some literalness here. Do you notice that there is some literalness here? People will bite their tongues in pain. People will be burned by so much sun. Is there truth here? Is there literal truth here? Global boiling is already here. Imagine how this global boiling will be. I remember when 20 years ago. That's it, more than 20 years. 23 years. I was in school. In some of the school grades, they told me in 2050 the Earth's temperature will rise 1.5 degrees Celsius. No, in 2023. I'm saying this in 2024, 2025. It doesn't matter if you're watching later. We're already 1.5 degrees Celsius above the normal temperature. See? So we entered global boiling. Then the fifth manifestation poured out its bowl under the throne of the monarchy of Israel, the King of Israel, the Messiah of the Jews. Finally, it will be struck. His kingdom will be in darkness. Only now does Dextra come to face Sextra, because the time has come for Dextra to cease to exist, as it has already fulfilled its role. And those who believed and followed the false Messiah will be sick, with painful sores. The sixth manifestation poured out its bowl on the great river Euphrates. The waters of the Euphrates River dried up. Why did they dry up? To make way for the great final battle. The waters dried up and the Middle East was left open for Russia, China, and the Arabs to attack Israel, which is the axis of today. Russia, China, Iran. And why the Arabs? Because the Sunnis, who today will make peace agreements with the Messiah, will break this peace agreement later on and will revolt. They will feel betrayed by the Messiah, who brokered the peace agreements. And they will come on the dry path of the river to destroy Israel, once and for all. Then came out Delta, evil spirits, that looked like 3 frogs from the mouth of the first winged serpent that flies. From the mouth of the false Messiah and from the mouth of the false prophet. Do you see it like this or not? It's a delta, it's a triangle of evil. It's the delta of evil, it's the delta downwards. What do you mean, delta, teacher? 3 frogs, my God in heaven. What frogs are these? They come out of the mouth of the serpent, the false Messiah, the false prophet. The delta of evil, which is the dragon incarnated in the Messiah of the Jews and in the false prophet and the false high priest, will manage to convince the presidents and supporting ministers through the demons evil spirits to join Israel for the fourth and last world war. The last war will be the great day of the Creator, the Almighty. Then they will wage a third war. We will have it recorded in the history books. The third war happened. But the fourth war, when they want to involve Israel again, and again this axis of evil, and again Delta countries, because it's always Delta countries, you saw in the Mozart series, first war, second war, always 3 countries. But when they think of doing it again, these 3 frogs, when these 3 frogs say, let's do the fourth, because the third didn't work out. Remember Albert Pike from Freemasonry saying 3 wars are necessary. But they will understand that the third war resolved, brought peace, brought prosperity, brought security, brought the Abraham Accords. And later on, they revolt and say, not even like this, not even after this, our plan worked. I don't know if you understand, but the first war was England. Remember? And the second war was the great battle between Russia, the Soviet Union, still the United States, and Germany. I don't know if you understand, but back then there was no Messiah. Then they make the third, then they make the Abraham Accords, then they bring the Messiah. And when they bring the Messiah and the Abraham Accords, things change. Then comes the revolt. Do you know what you plan and say? After I do all this and reach the Messiah, in the faith they have, after the Messiah arrives, there is no war. There is only shalom. You understand that, in the vision, conception of the rabbis, of the global rabbinate, there is the following understanding, the following faith, absolute belief that when the Messiah arrives, there is no more war. There is only peace. And everything will start to go right. Peace, security, and prosperity. They will say, look, that's it. We are right. Look at the world. We are right. We have always been right. But suddenly, an agreement is broken. And when they see that China, Russia, Iran, and the Sunni Arab countries break the Abraham Accords to revolt again against Israel. But now there is the Messiah. What? After the Messiah, the pact was broken? There is a third time before us where we offer sacrifices and yet peace was broken. Do you have any idea that it doesn't? Is there a way for the rabbinate to come forward and respond to this? How are the rabbis going to come and say, ah? What are they going to say? If they have always said that when the Messiah comes, there will be peace, are you seeing when God really appears? This is where God truly begins to deal with Israel. Even after all that we have already seen. Behold, I will come to Israel and to the world like a thief. Those who remain attentive and faithful to me until the end will be the victors. Do you not understand, or do you? I'm saying that, no matter how much we've already seen all kinds of misfortune here. Pre-GT, GT, Meso-GT, and post-GT. End of GT, it's not post-GT, it's the end of GT. But only now does Israel come to its senses. Is their heart so stubborn? Has it always been? A lot of ego? And who put that ego in them? I did. That, only now they will understand. Do you know what a person who suffers is? Global boiling, misfortunes of all kinds. Natural tragedies, the whole world. With all that you've seen, drinkable water, the sea, marine life, and still, they say, it's our Messiah. It's our Messiah, it's the Torah, we are right, it's the commandment. But when they see that the war has returned, this is where faith falls. This is where faith collapses. Because this is impossible for them. You know what I compare this to? I compare it to the day Jesus resurrected Lazarus. Up to that point, it was possible. From then on, it was not possible. There was no way to explain Lazarus's life. Those who believe in the false Messiah will be embarrassed, like when someone is found. That's how they will feel. Without clothes. So, the pyramid of evil, composed of 3 spirits, went to the place, which in Hebrew is called Armageddon. 1 frog. China. Another frog, Russia. Another frog, Iran and the Arabs. Turkey, the Muslims. Finally, the 7th manifestation poured out its bowl in the air. Then, from the most holy delta, a strong voice came from the throne saying, "It is done." Maktu. The 4 beings that represent the 4 elements. What are the 4 elements? Fire, earth, water, and air. What did they do now? They manifested thus: lightning, thunder, voices, and a strong earthquake. And this will be the strongest earthquake since man existed on earth. Jerusalem will be divided into 3 parts. The 3 evil spirits will divide the city, turning Zalem into a pyramid. Do you know what that is? And the greatest cities in the world will crumble with this great earthquake. That means it's a big bomb. It's a major attack. The Creator gave the great Babylon the cup of the wine of his wrath. To give you an idea, it says, all the islands of the earth will disappear. All the mountains will be struck. Huge hailstones fell from the sky upon men, which weighed, astonishingly, 33 kilograms each. And men will blaspheme against the Creator because of the hailstorm, for it will be the most terrible storm in the history of humanity. Revelation 17. Then, one of the 7 archangels, the 7 manifestations that had the 7 bowls, approached me and said, "Come, now I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute, who sits on many waters, that is, over many nations. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery. The men became drunk with her wine and lay with Israel." Hard to say, right? But that's what God said. And the most incredible thing, if I can say this here, is it's something from the mind of John, the Christian, the disciple. It's a Christian apocalypse, as you yourself are, as I said. But, in fact, this here is a text from Jeremiah, the prophet of Israel, a Jew speaking the truth to Jews. So, it's the truth. Because Jerusalem is the mother of the 3 main regions of the earth. So, this manifestation took me in spirit to a desert. See how John bases himself on the temptations of Moses, Elijah, and Jesus, always to a desert. In the desert, I saw a woman riding a red beast, which had 7 heads and 10 horns, and each head had a high exaltation. What is blasphemy? Title: religious or political. You learned this in the last class. I mean, it's absurd to see that people in churches teach eschatology, leadership, saying that blasphemy is what you've always learned. In fact, blasphemy is against them. Blasphemy is a religious title. The woman was dressed in clothes stained with red, adorned with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden chalice, and the chalice was full of her secretions and fluids, and of the politicians of the nations with whom she had sexual relations. Any idea? On the woman's forehead, there was an inscription. I told you that the prostitutes in Rome had inscriptions on their foreheads. On the woman's forehead, there was an inscription that said the mystery was revealed to the great Babylon, the mother of religions and the repugnant practices of the earth. I saw that this woman was drunk, intoxicated with the wine, which was spiritually the blood of the righteous. She killed all the witnesses of the true Messiah. She persecuted everyone. See, every time Jerusalem. The Judeo-Christian Abrahamic religious system, from the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, kills a person of truth, a person who follows the truth, every time it kills. It's a bit of wine that this woman drinks, that this metaphorical woman, that the mother of the entire religious system drinks. When I saw this, I was very amazed. Then the angelic manifestation of the Creator said to me, "Why are you so amazed, John? I will explain to you the visions you had about the woman, the beast. The beast you saw was alive and now is dead." In Jerusalem. When did the Jewish religious system fall? 70 after Christ. But it will rise in the last days. Do you understand? And what do the churches do? My God, I won't even say. I won't even open it. Whether they are pastors from the Assembly of God, Adventists, you can't even say about priests, because priests have different versions. There are the amillennialists, who say that everything has already happened, that it all happened back in 60. After growing up, Nero, everything is done, there's nothing left. Jesus doesn't need to come anymore, he's already in our hearts. Now, the one who reigns is the Pope, because Jesus isn't coming back, there's nothing more. Hey, listen. The churches are saying absurd things out there. Oh, it's the 7th Pope, the 8th Pope. It's an absurdity, an absurdity. Pope Benedict XVI, I don't know if you remember, when he was alive, said he would return. The one who was removed and then Francis came. Later, he was supposed to return. I would say, folks, what nonsense. I said this for years. I spent 7 years here saying, stop with this, until Pope Benedict XVI died. On the internet, millions of people who have left the church and millions of Adventists. They insulted me, saying no. And those who didn't know me would say on the internet, no. There it is, Pope Benedict XVI, he's the Pope, the 8th King. My God. Where are these people to come here? To apologize? I don't even want an apology. I just want these people to understand. Let's understand. Let's be humble, shall we? So, here is the understanding. Right. The beast you saw is alive and now was alive and now is dead. In Jerusalem. When did today's system fall? Micro-apocalypse. But it will rise again, which is the macro-apocalypse. It will come back to life. It will resurrect from the abyss and walk towards its complete destruction. All who do not have their names in the book of life, which is timeless, even before time existed. Space and matter will be deceived when Judaism resurfaces in Jerusalem. It died in 70, and now it will come back to life, to receive its false Messiah in the last week, the 70th week of Daniel. Professor, how did it go and then come back? Did you forget about Daniel, that there were 69 weeks, and then the world takes a pause? The 70th week is coming now. The 70th week is the return to dealing with Israel, the first wife. So it came back to life. Do you understand the metaphor? It came back to life for the 70th week. And if it came back to life, my friend, it's not a pope. It's not a politician. It's not a king, my God. The one who has supreme wisdom will understand. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains, the 7 hills on which the woman sits. Jerusalem. What are the 2 cities in the world that have 7 hills? Rome and Jerusalem? And what they say is Rome. There, 7 heads represent Jerusalem and its government by 7 kings. 5 have already passed. The 6th is still alive, and the 7th has not yet appeared. And how many people in the world are racking their brains over this? Here, for years and years, they rack their brains. read, research, do calculations, grab the calculator, grab the dictionary. And they go, cry, go without eating, drag their knees on the ground, make holes in their knees and say, Jesus, reveal it to me. But the seventh will rule for a short time. 8. King is the beast itself in the flesh. It would have been much easier to have the original Bible. Look at that. That is Jerusalem and Judaism, which was 70 after Christ. Now, John is writing 95. It is no longer. It will return with the incarnation of the eighth king. Did you understand? So, what is John saying? Because you have to understand the author. But, Professor, how did you come to this? You have to understand. You have to read the entire Gospel of John, his 3 epistles, and then understand him. So, here it is. This is Jerusalem and Judaism, which was 70. Now, it is. No, now it is no longer, because while John, is writing this, at the present moment that John is writing, this, he says, is no longer. It will return with the incarnation of the eighth king. And what is the greatest proof of this? The Wailing Wall. Since the temple was destroyed, it has been destroyed. To this day. That is to say, it is no longer. It was. It was great, wasn't it? Wasn't it powerful? From 200, didn't we see in the Mach series from 200 years of Christ till 70? Wasn't it powerful? Wasn't it? Wasn't it powerful? It was. It even killed Jesus. It was. It is no longer, because in John's days there was nothing left. In 135, they tried to rebuild it. Hadrian went there and destroyed everything again. It couldn't be anymore, but he said it will return to be when? In the incarnation of the eighth king. So I ask you, has it returned? It hasn't returned yet, as long as we see those stones there and Jews there. It hasn't returned. As long as they are there, it hasn't returned. But the moment the third temple is rebuilt, then it has returned. The seventh represents the return of the Jews to the kingdom of their false Messiah. But the eighth represents the incarnation of Judaism, the incarnation of the Torah in a man, the eighth king. Wasn't Jesus the Torah itself? Am I the Bible? For this man will also claim that he is. He will also say, I am the Bible, I am the Torah, I am the incarnation of the Torah. But he will rule for a short time. In fact, he will rule for the same amount of time that Jesus ruled. A short time. If the Messiah of Dextra ruled for 3.5 years, he will also rule for 3.5 years. As for the 10 horns you saw, they are 10 kings who will receive their kingdoms, but will rule for only 1 hour, along with the 8th king, the false Messiah. That 1 hour, the temporal. Cairo, if you want to know, it is here, detailed in the Bible of Nelcordia. This story is long, but it doesn't matter. The sole purpose of the 10 kings will be to support the Messiah of the Jews. Then, the world will reorganize. Today you are looking at the UN. The UN will be reorganized, remade into a religious, political, large, strong, real UN that acts. Not like in the last 70 years of this union, since 1948, which does nothing. It has no effective power. Of soldiers with turquoise blue helmets, who do nothing. Who cannot do anything. But things will change. A G20 that needs to take pictures. The richest countries in the world. Let's finish our text. Our text is now. Here for the emissary. Emissary, speak our text. The G20 met and decided. We need to end poverty on earth. Oh, really? The 10 kings will crown the false Messiah. By killing the Jews and Christians who do not accept the false Messiah, they will be waging war against the Lamb. Because, when they touch you, They touch God, but the Lamb will overcome them. The Lamb will overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. All who died for the truth will triumph with the true Messiah. Delta victors, called, chosen, and faithful. Then the angelic manifestation of the Creator told me, the waters you saw where the prostitute is seated are Jews and non-Jews who will be deceived worldwide by the false Messiah. These are the waters. After the false Messiah comes to power, he will turn against the Jews themselves. The great messianic peace agreement will be broken. For the Creator has placed in the minds of the 10 kings the purpose of giving power to the false Messiah. With the peace agreement broken and the world kingdom ended, Jerusalem will be in ruins. Jerusalem will be laid bare. Its flesh will be eaten and it will be destroyed by fire like never before. It happened before. We have a PL 4606 against the original Codex Bible and against anyone who wants to edit the Bible, which will certainly pass in the Senate. I don't know if the president at that time will veto it or not. Probably not. If it becomes law in the United States, in England, in various parts of the world, they are already considering it. Now imagine as his Messiah. I keep wondering, these passages as you see here, of course, this is in the originals, as I showed you to understand, but even in your Bible, which is full of obsolete and difficult language, even in your Bible, these texts are very strong. These texts will remain in the Bible because they want to make a law that you can't edit the Bible, but they themselves will have to edit the Bible. I think they won't pass this law because they themselves will have to edit the Bible, because these texts here won't be able to be in the Bible. Look at what your Bible says. Jerusalem will be laid bare, its flesh will be eaten and destroyed by fire. How will these texts remain in the Bible? I know. It's because no one reads them. It's because no one teaches them, nor preaches, nor sings them. Guess who does that? The philosophy X. It's in the Bible, but no one reads it. It's in the Bible, but no one knows or wants to know. Have you ever seen a sermon on this text? So, it doesn't matter, right? It can remain in the Bible and no one sees it. Full of egos, 10 kings will enter along, with the false Messiah in the agreement to govern the world through the false fulfillment of prophecies. From the Bible. But they will govern the world for a short time. Then it ends. The woman you saw, John, is the great city of the prophets. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which reigns over the kings of the earth. Mother of the 3 religions of the world. The 3 frogs. If they are 3 frogs, which are 3 religions, they are 3 frogs that will attack the 3 religions. I don't know if you understand. 3 frogs. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. 3 frogs, China, Iran, and Russia. Do you understand why there is China, Iran, and Russia? Why did God do all this? To counter their ego, to deal with their ego. But we will see in the upcoming chapters that when Israel is about to be destroyed by China, Iran, and Russia, God comes and protects Israel. But how? After ruining their lives with 1.5 meters of blood. And after all his wrath, his fury has passed, comes love. And then they cry. Because everything he did, he only wanted one thing. That, finally, they would recognize that he is. That's all he wanted. But it had to be the hard way. So, the purpose of this is not anti-Semitism. It's love. So that, in the end, the Jews cry, plant, as Zechariah says, and recognize that they were wrong. Do you know what it means for a Jew to recognize? Do you know what it means for the rabbinate, the Kabbalist rebbes to recognize? We were wrong about the Messiah of Zionism. It wasn't, it was beautiful, it worked for a short time. We were mistaken. Actually, Jesus of the Christians, not of the Vatican, nor of the American evangelicals, nor of the Brazilians, but the original Jesus. He was the Messiah. Do you understand that? It's going to be beautiful, huh? And you're looking at me with that expression, without any reaction. Professor, I'm here holding myself back from jumping. Why don't you jump, son? I'm almost crying. There's no such thing as almost. Now, I have to finish this class by saying the following. You saw that the Abraham Accords are going to be beautiful, but they will go wrong. And that's why the Abraham Accords are so important. Because when they start, when they succeed, the countdown begins. Take the clock and count because it will go wrong. And when it goes wrong, it's over. Tick, tock. How beautiful, right? And how terrible.
The beginning is the end. I saw the beginning.
Ix. That thing, right? When you get a riddle, someone challenges you with a riddle, a treasure map, a challenge. People spend hours and days and spend money and their whole lives trying to decipher that riddle. But when someone comes along, like me, who delivers the whole riddle solved, it's a trap, right? Everything that comes easy is a problem. Your problem. 1260 and the session of the emissary envoys. Because Paul is saying the following. When the Lamb unsealed, there's no rapture here. There's Mars. Singing, hey, hey, hey.